All right, y'all. So I know that ending to the podcast is a little different, and I just looked. I was so time oriented that I don't want to leave these topics out because they are part of this story. So I want to go ahead and give these three attention. So I still am here with Dimitri. We're gonna not rush through it. I want to do this as a proper podcast and let it be what it is. So first thing that we have is Devin McCoughtry talking about why he wouldn't attend the Patriots' White House visit. He made it as a reason of he already kind of had it in his head that he wasn't going to go to the White House if they won. He doesn't want to go mainly because he's been before. He's seen the White House. He's not too fond of shaking the president's hand. The speculation of it is trying to present it as whether he is or isn't a fan of Donald Trump, which politically, I don't want to talk about this, but realistically, I can talk about it because it was brought up, if you go back a couple of years ago, Tom Brady, when they won the Super Bowl, I think they played Seattle, and Obama was in office, and he didn't go. And they brought up the reason being he was like, I'm not a supporter of Obama. And oddly enough, it's like the tables have turned.
Because he is a supporter of Trump.
Right. He's very pro-Trump. So to have that, and I'm sorry, before I continue, usually I don't do these type of topics because it's just not something I want to talk about. But you have to be open-minded, but be realistic in what you see in the media. Many people say it, and it's the constant of the obvious. Not many people are fond of Trump, and that's just kind of the way it is. And this is that example of him being one of 6 players who aren't going. Now, whether the other 5 aren't going because of Trump or if they're just not going, period, it's a choice. If a person, like, okay, let's say on our job, they said, all right, you got an opportunity to meet so-and-so. But the person you're going to meet is somebody you aren't too fond of. But it's an opportunity to go and make a visit. Would you go?
I'll take my time off and, chill somewhere. That's especially because at this point, it's on his own time.
Right.
I don't think he's getting paid for this visit or anything like that. So it's on his own
time. It's not a PR move. It ain't like it's if you go, then you're going to increase your brand or increase your market, or whatever in the sport. But I think it's a choice. Because the guys who aren't going is Martellus Bennett, Dante Hightower, defensive end Chris Long, running back LeGarrette Blount, and defensive tackle Alan Branch all opted out of the White House visit. And running back James White said he has yet to decide whether he'll attend.
And to give some background, this isn't like the first time where people haven't wanted to not visit the White House. Happened a few times with Obama administration. So
I'll give you an even better story. I want to look up. I'm gonna probably do ADD moment because I want to find this article. There was I don't know if you ever heard the name Craig Hodges. Played for the Bulls. Was a well-known shooter. Matter of fact, because I can probably wiki this story and it'll give every bit of the perspective of what went on with him. They basically, he didn't want to go to the White House. Let's see. Hodges, okay, I'm gonna read this from Wikipedia, and I'm like well past time, but it looks like nobody's got the room, so I'm not too worried. When the Chicago Bulls visited the White House after winning the '92 NBA championship, Hodges dressed in a dashiki and delivered a handwritten letter addressed to then President George H.W. Bush, expressing his discontent at the administration's treatment of the poor minorities. Backlash to that was, by him doing that impacted his career. He didn't really get established any further in the NBA after that. And it was a tough option for anyone even wanting to sign him on a team because of that situation.
Yeah, I see that looks like he went like overseas or something of that nature. Which is rough.
It's the gift and the curse.
Yeah, at that time it wasn't politically correct to do something of that nature.
Right, because you didn't have. I mean, in all fairness, and I always go into this topic. If the NBA had social media back then, Jordan would have been a god to some people in so many words, because he would have gotten that much attention. Like even Kobe Bryant and Shaq, they were their early parts of their career.
Yeah.
There was no Twitter. There was like Facebook existed, but it wasn't as much of a heavy hit. So I just wanted to get that part in, and talking about him, not going to the White House and the other players, publicly bowing out and not going. So next topic is yours, because this is your team, involving Mitch Kupchak being let go along with Magic.
I would like your opinion on the matter first. Your
My outside unbiased opinion. Okay. Kupchak did a lot of bad. Kupchak's time was running low, and he had a lot of opportunities to make some moves that he didn't make. And I feel like by him not doing a lot of things that he did, the organization made a choice that was in the best interest in the moment.
And Bus too.
Jim Bus was reckless, and then it didn't help because, was it the daughter? The daughter
Jimmy Bus.
Her relationship with Phil was a huge conflict at one time.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to make sure I got this right. They're no longer together.
No, yeah, they're splitting up. Yeah.
Right, but it's like it shouldn't. Like it was so odd because at one time, it was almost as though everybody was waiting for Phil to come off the bench or come out of the admin office and be, run the Knicks. But from, putting the Knicks part of it aside, on the Lakers aspect, he couldn't do, it just wasn't working out. It was a relationship that was time to make a change. And I mean, Magic has been part of the organization for a while, but it's been like a quiet involvement, if I want to have it correctly.
And what do you think about Jim Buss? Because when he first got the Lakers, it was, I believe it was a 13-14 season. And just like a known fact, before Jim Buss took over the organization after his father passed away,
right?
Lakers had only missed the playoffs 5 times since 1947.
And they missed every year since he ran, right?
Since he's ran it, the last 3 years,
right?
The Lakers have missed the playoffs, and I'm no math major, but I'm assuming they're gonna miss the playoffs again this season.
Yeah, y'all got to do some major.
So much it has to be 4 times in the last 4 seasons, and they only missed it 5 times in the previous 40, 60 seasons or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been rough to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying how he wanted 3 years from when he started, and then 3 years was up last year.
Right.
Then he was like, I want 3 years from when Kobe is gone, which
it's not really a fair shake because, in all fairness, I'll say this about Kobe. You were getting Kobe at the end of his rope the last few years. So you pretty much you technically didn't have Kobe.
It's also because he was hurt. It wasn't because he was
it
was bad.
I mean injury wise. Yeah. Like you literally had Kobe where you had a little bit of Kobe left.
Yeah, because people forget Kobe's last season when he was fully healthy, when he played up to the 80th game and got hurt and tore his Achilles.
Yeah.
He was averaging 27, 6 and like 5.5.
Right.
So he was actually out there balling and led them to the playoffs that year. Then he got hurt and
it was basically he was playing on one leg and kind of almost having to cripple. The thing with, so I'll say this with Kobe, and you'll hear this and probably relate to it as well. Kobe had such a huge passion for the game, he never wanted to let it go. Mm-hmm. But then to make it worse, because of him being so tied to it, it was it was like the gift and the curse, meaning I play this out, I'm a loyal player, I'm down for my team, but my body's telling me I gotta sit down. It's time. Like I'm not meant to be on the field no more, or on the court anymore. And that's basically, he went out on his terms, but he also went out because his body couldn't take any more.
They should have. It just shows how terrible they were running it. Mm-hmm. That the fact that they couldn't still compete a little bit without. Yeah. Compete even a little bit. 27 games that they won, 21, and then 17.
Right.
Which is just terrible.
But if you got somebody, but if you think about it, and in your case, you can understand this. If you got players like Julius Randle, Hibbert for like a millisecond, Russell, Nick Young, like you have these guys who are literally a bunch of knuckleheads, and this is before Luke Walton even got there. Like Luke Walton this year, this is literally year one, and trying to relate to kids now, it's an odd scenario for him because you think Luke Walton ain't been retired from the league that long. So for him to get the job, it was almost like they put him in that position, and I'm probably gonna be really mean for saying this, but I can because it's observation. He got a job because his dad. Plain and simple. Like I really don't think him as a coach is not.
He looked good last year with the Warriors too, which helped him.
The Warriors, he didn't have to do anything.
You got to give credit. Credit's also.
I am.
They were 39-4
before Steve Kerr got there.
So that was nice, but then also as you said, the Warriors were a finely tuned machine.
Yeah, they could. I mean, they pretty much. That's why it's a lot. I think there was a lot of push and pull about the whole Durant going to Golden State. Like that was just another piece, but it's like your team. Like I feel like it's gonna be interesting this year because now he has his team back. Like Steve Kerr has had his team the whole year, so it's like having Steve Kerr there, and then it's like Walton's running running LA. And LA's trying to like work on whatever they're doing, so it's hit or miss. But do you think Magic's gonna come in and wreck shop and do his thing, or how you think it's gonna go?
There's a couple ways that this can go. I don't know how he thinks like what his process of thinking is, right? Because we haven't seen him in this type of role before, so we don't.
Right.
You can't really judge him off of previous things. This is entirely different than playing.
Yeah.
Entirely different than coaching. If he's patient with it, you should know that he has picks coming up right now.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to develop a couple of these players for the next year, and next year's free agency is going to be bigger than this year's free agency, just because Paul George is available, and there are more people who are available next year in free agency. So he needs to make the Lakers more attractive, so people want to go there. You know what I mean?
Right, because you gotta make. In this case, it's almost like you have to make the brand stand out in your own unique way.
Exactly, you want to make the Lakers more desirable because the Lakers brand, like the history there. So
yeah, like if you go in there for the history, the legacy, that's great. But if you're looking at it's almost like what have you done for me lately? No, I don't think I like.
But then again, they've since 2000, they're the only team they have the most titles over any other team since 2000.
Right.
So which is still recently, but it's like they tarnished the brand so badly these last 3 years.
Those 3 years stick
these last 3 years, it's just been terrible.
It was just some weird stuff that just didn't add. I mean, getting D'Angelo Russell like you did, he came in okay. Him and the whole Nick Young thing was just a whole nother scenario. Brief add on to it because I'm reading the article. That's why I was kind of quiet for a minute. The status, Jeannie Buss stated that the status quo wasn't acceptable. It wasn't Lakers basketball. It wasn't what this organization stands for. Because she probably is upset. I mean, they're upset because they look at it like, why I guess probably why they didn't get a fair shake. But it's like, you get 3 years. Like, what you wanted to have happen.
3.5 years.
3.5 years.
Something that was just so terrible that's going to be there for a couple more years is Luol Deng and Timothy Mozgov.
Right.
The two big free agency acquisitions this last season was those two for 4 years for both of them, $68 million or $64 million for one, and $72 million for the other, which is just terrible. Nobody else was offering Deng more than $20 million.
Yeah, Deng.
So they were.
You ain't getting much out of Deng anymore. Deng is kind of at the end of his career too. I mean, he's had a good run, but it's time to make a change. Speaking of change, and this will be the cap of all caps because I don't know how to talk about. Like, it's a weird story, but I'm talking about it for trade purposes because I feel like Chris Bosh could have been traded or could have went to a team, but Miami won't let him go because of his contract.
He didn't pass his physical
Right.
also.
So because it's physical, we're keeping him, we're working with him, and we don't want to deal with his heart risk, but we also know his risk could be a risky portion with other teams. So he decided to join the TNT news crew. And I think this is going to be good because he's a recent player. I just wonder, will he say things or make comments that you just wouldn't that are like, how honest will he be being in that position? Because he may mention information about the organization probably involving his not allowing him to play.
Possibly.
Because basically what's going to happen is for the next 5 weeks, I'm not sure when his first episode was or is, or if it's happened or not, but he'll be working on Monday nights. He'll be on Monday nights in TNT Studios doing what's known as game and wraparound coverage. They're basically going to be kind of doing, from what it looks like, it's like the TNT doing what NBA TV does now, where they're going to talk about NBA games that are on TV and just kind of giving like their coverage about it.
With only NBA players, only
Right.
Former NBA players.
Yeah. Fact is, he spoke to NBA TV Studios. There was not a single question on the subject. And it's interesting. No one's like this. All right, and this is, I'm gonna read this because this is relevant of what I'm looking at with the whole thing. Whether that makes Bosh a member of the media is a little bit of a stretch, and that means likely the decision of his estrangement from the Heat as the team moves to remove his salary cap hit in the wake of the blood clotting episodes that have kept him out of the game since his failed season physical. In fact, as he spoke with the NBA TV studio host, there was not a single question on the subject Thursday. Instead, Bosh spoke in generalities of a return to the broadcast realm, having worked with Turner hosts over the years during time away from the Heat. So it's almost like they're kind of knowing that this is going to be a move that, like, they want to give him a chance to do something, but not really mess with what he's doing.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I don't know. Like, I think he'll be fine, but I'm not putting any huge hype behind it. I think it's just gonna be what it is, and just kind of go from there.
Mm-hmm. His health is the main thing, you know.
Yeah.
You don't want somebody falling on the basketball court with blood clots.
Oh yeah, because then that becomes a liability. Then that, like we talked about earlier, that tarnishes their brand on so many levels.
Yeah.
So I've gone 21 minutes over my room time and 18 minutes almost with the podcast, but I wanted to make sure I got these other topics in. Luckily, I didn't get kicked out. I'm going to apologize to the people in the library. Hopefully, y'all got to hear Dimitri a little better today, because I know I was making sure that I got him straight and also making sure that the podcast is of good quality. I'm working more on getting this to a better level with sharing these thoughts, getting more topics presented. Next week, I will tell you in advance, because we did mention it with each other. We might be getting into a little bit of NBA draft talks for next upcoming season, talking about JaVale McGee and Shaq's rift, social media outbursts, among other things. So
maybe some mid-season awards.
Yeah. I would like to. I think mid-season awards would be good, because we want to see who's doing what team has been making most noise. So just some ideas that we throwing out there. But thanks everyone for tuning in. This will be recorded and we'll go live probably this evening, if not Sunday, because I'm going out of town in North Carolina. So I'm actually somewhat, I guess, packed. But Dimitri, as always, pleasure to have you on the show. This is almost like a group show, because I'm getting you in your element and doing something that you like doing, and it kind of gives me my chance to just ramble and talk about sports. So is there any other, I know I gave you like closing remarks on the other podcast, but on our official closing, is there anything else you would like to add before we close out?
Yeah, no, pleasure having me. We're still work in progress, but we're still getting there.
I know that's right. Well, appreciate you coming, man. And like I said, if you got stuff, you got ideas, like we always talk about, just throw them in there, because it surprises me, because I'm like, all right, it's making me work a little hard on what I'm doing. So until next time, y'all be good, stay safe. It was raining, it looked like it stopped raining, so stay dry. And until next time, it's BT signing out. Peace.
Peace.